Hello, my lovely family. Tonight, I have 5 scary and unique stories just for you. These tales will make you shiver and help you fall asleep. Before we start, I have a small request. Please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps me make more spooky stories. If you have any story ideas, leave a comment below. Now, let's begin. I had always considered myself a careful thief, never biting off more than I could chew. That night, standing outside the mansion at the edge of town, I felt a rush of adrenaline. The place was huge and rumored to be empty, and I couldn't resist the temptation. I crept along the side of the house, my footsteps muffled by the soft grass. The broken basement window I had scoped out earlier beckoned me, promising easy entry. I slipped through it, landing softly on the cold, damp floor. My flashlight flickered to life, casting an eerie glow on the walls. The mansion was silent, the kind of silence that prickled the hairs on the back of your neck. I shook off the feeling and made my way upstairs. The place was even grander on the inside, filled with antique furniture and dusty chandeliers. It was a gold mine. As I rummaged through drawers and cabinets, a strange smell hit me. Metallic and sour. I hesitated, the hairs on my arms standing on end. It was the kind of smell that screamed at you to run, but greed kept me rooted. In the study, my flashlight beam landed on a bookcase. Behind it, I heard a rhythmic tapping sound. It was faint, but unmistakable, like someone knocking gently on wood. Curiosity got the better of me, and I started inspecting the shelves. My fingers brushed against a loose panel, and I pushed it aside to reveal a hidden passageway. Heart pounding, I stepped inside. The air was colder here, and the smell intensified. The passage led to a small room, dimly lit by a single, flickering bulb. What I saw there stopped me in my tracks. The walls were plastered with newspaper clippings about missing people. Photographs of terrified faces stared back at me, their eyes pleading for help. A chill ran down my spine as I realized where I was. This wasn't just a mansion. It was the lair of a killer. My mind raced, searching for a way out, when the door behind me slammed shut with a deafening thud. I was trapped. Panic surged through me as I turned to see a figure emerging from the shadows. The man was tall, with a twisted smile and eyes that gleamed with malice. He moved with a predatory grace, enjoying the fear that gripped me. "Welcome," he said, his voice smooth and mocking. I didn't expect company. I backed away, my hands searching for anything I could use as a weapon. The killer stepped closer, savoring every moment. I noticed a key dangling from his belt, a possible way out, but getting it wouldn't be easy. I had to think fast. My eyes darted around the room, landing on a heavy book on the table. In one swift motion, I grabbed the book and hurled it at the light bulb, shattering it and plunging us into darkness. The killer cursed, momentarily disoriented, and I seized my chance. I lunged for him, grabbing the key and making a desperate dash for the door. Behind me, I heard him regain his composure, his footsteps pounding after me. My heart raced as I fumbled with the lock, finally managing to wrench the door open. I sprinted down the passageway, my legs fueled by pure terror. I reached the basement window, my only escape. Just as I was about to crawl through, a hand grabbed my ankle with crushing force. Panic surged through me, and I kicked out wildly, feeling his grip loosen. With a final effort, I wriggled free and tumbled onto the grass outside, my body shaking with fear and relief. I didn't stop running until I reached the edge of the property. My breath came in ragged gasps, my heart pounding like a drum. I knew I had narrowly escaped a fate worse than death, and the realization left me shaken. I made my way back to the city, the events of the night replaying in my mind like a nightmare. I called the police from a payphone, anonymously tipping them off about the horrors I had witnessed. That night changed me. I vowed to leave my life of crime behind, haunted by the killer's smile and the memory of those trapped in his lair. The thin sliver of moonlight that had guided me to safety was a reminder of my second chance. But deep down, I knew the killer was still out there, lurking in the shadows, and I could only hope the police would catch him before he claimed another victim. Get ready for the next story that will send chills down your spine. When Lily first mentioned her imaginary friend, Mr. Whispers, I didn't think much of it. At 5 years old, it seemed perfectly normal for her to have a make-believe companion. I'd watch her chat away in her room, her voice rising and falling in animated conversation. It was cute, even endearing. But then things started happening. Strange things that made me uneasy. Doors would creak open on their own, and shadows seemed to flit across the walls at odd hours. At first, I dismissed these as mere coincidences, products of my imagination. But one stormy evening changed everything. Rain lashed against the windows and thunder rumbled in the distance. I was tucking Lily into bed when I noticed a figure standing in the corner of her room. My heart skipped a beat, and I forced myself to stay calm. "Lily?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "Who's that?" Lily giggled, pointing to the shadowy figure. "That's Mr. Whispers, Mommy. He says he's finally ready to meet you." Fear shot through me like ice. The figure stepped into the light, revealing a disheveled man with hollow eyes and a chilling smile. I felt paralyzed, as if the air itself had turned to stone around me. "Hello, Claire," he said, his voice a soft, sinister whisper. "Lily talks about you all the time." I pulled Lily close, my heart pounding in my chest. "What do you want?" I managed to ask. He chuckled, the sound grating against my nerves. "I'm here for Lily. She's special, you see. But don't worry, I'll make sure she's taken care of." Panic surged through me, and I grabbed the lamp from the bedside table, swinging it with all my strength. The figure vanished, leaving only an eerie echo of laughter behind. I called the police, my hands trembling as I dialed. They arrived quickly, searching the house thoroughly, but there was nothing. No sign of forced entry, no indication that anyone had been there. The officers were polite but skeptical, attributing my experience to stress and imagination. But I knew what I'd seen. And I knew that Mr. Whispers was not just a figment of Lily's imagination. Desperate to protect my daughter, I dove into research, uncovering the dark history of our home. Years ago, a man named Arthur Whistler, known as the Whispering Killer, had lived and died here. His charm and ability to lure victims into a false sense of security were legendary. Realizing that Mr. Whispers was Arthur's ghost, I sought help from a local paranormal expert. He performed a cleansing ritual, sealing our house with protective charms. Though Lily still occasionally mentioned Mr. Whispers, the strange occurrences stopped. The house felt lighter, safer. I remained vigilant, teaching Lily to be wary of strangers, even those who seemed friendly. The experience left its mark on me, a constant reminder that not all imaginary friends are harmless. As the years passed, Lily outgrew her imaginary companion, her memories of Mr. Whispers fading like a distant dream. But I never forgot. I had faced true evil and emerged stronger for it, and I vowed never to let my guard down again. It's time for the third story of the night. It all began as a silly dare. My friends, Tyler, Jake, and I were always looking for excitement. We were three adventurous teens in search of the next thrill. There was an old house near the woods, and everyone in town said it was haunted. People claimed an old couple had lived there once, and that no one should ever go near it. We didn't believe in ghost stories. We were young and thought we knew everything. It was a cool fall afternoon when we decided to sneak into the house. The plan was simple. Go in, take some pictures, and leave before it got dark. It seemed easy enough. Tyler was the boldest of us, always ready to do something crazy. He led us down the narrow path that wound through the woods. As we walked, the house came into view, standing tall against the evening sky. Its windows were dark, and the roof looked like it could collapse at any moment. "Come on," Tyler said with a grin. Jake and I were nervous, but we followed him onto the creaky porch. The door opened with a loud groan, as if it hadn't been touched in years. We stepped inside, and the adventure began. The house smelled old and musty. Dust floated in the beams of our flashlights, and old furniture was covered in white sheets. It felt like we had stepped into a place forgotten by time. We decided to split up and explore. I went upstairs while Tyler and Jake checked out the rooms downstairs. As I moved through each room, the floorboards creaked loudly under my feet. It was eerie, but I tried to ignore it. Suddenly, I heard a soft whisper. "Did you hear that?" I called out, trying not to sound scared. There was no answer. My heart raced as I listened harder. The whispering continued, like a strange song being sung by unseen voices. I hurried back downstairs, my flashlight shaking in my hand. Tyler and Jake were gone. "Guys?" I shouted, panic rising in my chest. Silence filled the air. Then I noticed a door at the end of the hallway. It was slightly open. I pushed it wider and stepped inside. The room was empty, except for a single chair facing a window. On the floor were Tyler and Jake's flashlights, flickering weakly. In the corner of the room stood a woman, or at least what was left of her. She looked like a ghost, with hollow eyes and skin stretched tightly over her bones. She raised a finger to her lips, telling me to be quiet. I backed away in terror, the door slamming shut behind me with a bang. The whispers grew louder, like a crowd of people speaking all at once. I knew I had to escape. I ran blindly, not caring where I was going. The house seemed to change around me, twisting and turning like a maze. Every hallway led to another, and every door opened to a dead end. Desperate, I tried to remember the way out. The whispers surrounded me, taunting and teasing, telling me things I didn't want to hear. Finally, I saw it. The front door, slightly open, with moonlight shining through. I dashed for the door, breaking free into the night. I didn't stop running until I reached the edge of the woods. My lungs burned, and my legs felt like they would give out. I collapsed on the grass, tears streaming down my face. Tyler and Jake were gone, taken by the darkness of that terrible house. Whatever I had seen, whatever had taken them, was beyond anything I could understand. I never told anyone about that night. The house remained, abandoned and untouched, its secrets hidden away. Sometimes, when the wind blew through the trees, I could hear the whispers calling me back. I wondered if Tyler and Jake were still inside, lost forever, or if they had become part of the story that warned people to stay away. A story about the house that never lets you go. Now, let's dive into the fourth creepy story. Are you ready to be scared? It started as just another ordinary afternoon. The clock ticked steadily, and the late summer sun cast warm rays across the kitchen floor. My parents had gone out for errands, leaving me home alone with the usual promise to be back by dinner. But dinner came and went, and the house remained eerily quiet. At first, I wasn't worried. Sometimes they got caught up in conversations or ran into friends. I busied myself with homework, the soft hum of the refrigerator my only company. But as the evening crept into night, a sense of unease settled over me. I called their phones, the ringing echoing through my head until each went to voicemail. "Hey, it's me. Just wondering where you are. Call me back, okay?" I tried to sound casual, but my voice wavered. By midnight, worry gnawed at my insides like a relentless hunger. I sat on the couch watching shadows dance across the walls, every creak and groan of the house amplified in the silence. I imagined scenarios, each one more dreadful than the last, my mind a swirling storm of fear and confusion. The next morning, I contacted the police. They took my report, nodding and asking questions, their faces a mix of professionalism and sympathy. They promised to look into it, but their assurances felt hollow. Days turned into a blur. I went through the motions of life, but everything felt muted, as if the world had lost its color. Friends came by, their concerned eyes tracking my every move, but I couldn't bear their pity. I wanted answers, not condolences. I started searching for clues myself, piecing together fragments of their lives, looking for any sign of where they might have gone. I combed through their room, finding nothing but ordinary belongings. Their absence was a void, consuming everything. Then, about a week after they disappeared, I found something curious. A small, unmarked envelope tucked into my father's desk drawer. Inside was a single key and a slip of paper with an address scribbled in my mother's handwriting. Hope flared within me, a tiny flame in the darkness. I hurried to the address, a modest storage unit on the edge of town. My heart pounded as I turned the key, opening the door to reveal a stack of boxes and a faint, musty smell. As I sifted through the contents, I discovered letters, photographs, and documents, pieces of a puzzle I didn't understand. There were references to people I'd never heard of, and places I'd never been. My parents' lives, it seemed, held secrets I had never imagined. Among the papers, I found a letter addressed to me in my mother's elegant script. With trembling hands, I opened it. Her words were both a comfort and a revelation. They spoke of a past entangled in something dangerous, something that had caught up with them. "We love you, always," she wrote. "If you're reading this, know that we're doing everything we can to protect you." The words were a lifeline, pulling me back from the edge of despair. I understood now that they hadn't left me. They had been taken by something beyond our control. I turned the evidence over to the police, who took it seriously this time, launching a new investigation. The days continued to stretch on, a waiting game with no clear end. But I held on to the hope that my parents would return, that they would walk through the door and life would resume. And so I waited, in that endless dusk between fear and hope, surrounded by shadows but no longer alone. We've made it to the last story of the night. This final tale is the scariest one yet. guaranteed to give you chills. In the heart of Regency England, the lavish estate of Lord and Lady Worthington was abuzz with excitement. The grand ballroom glittered with chandeliers, and the air was filled with the sound of laughter and the clinking of glasses. It was the annual masquerade ball, an event that drew nobility from far and wide. Lady Emily Fairchild, a keen observer and frequent guest at such gatherings, had just arrived. She enjoyed the intrigue of these masked affairs, where identities were concealed and secrets were whispered. As she surveyed the room, she noticed a curious figure lingering near the edge of the crowd. The stranger's mask was elaborate, a shimmering blue that caught the light, but their demeanor seemed out of place, tense and watchful. As the night wore on, the guests reveled in their anonymity, swirling around the dance floor. But as the clock struck midnight, a scream pierced the air, freezing everyone in their tracks. The crowd quickly gathered in the parlor, where a body lay slumped on the floor. The mask had been removed, revealing a young man with the features unfamiliar to anyone present. Gasps of horror and confusion echoed through the room. Lady Worthington, ever composed, ordered the doors locked and sent for the local constable. Emily, driven by her curiosity, moved closer to examine the scene. The victim's clothing was of fine quality, but not of the latest fashion, hinting at a possible outsider. No one stepped forward to claim him, and whispers of scandal spread like wildfire. Who was this mysterious guest, and how had he met such a tragic end? Determined to uncover the truth, Emily began questioning the guests. She discovered that the stranger had been seen earlier in the evening speaking to Lord Worthington in hushed tones. Her inquiries also revealed that several guests had noticed the stranger exchanging furtive glances with Lady Helena, a known beauty with a penchant for intrigue. Emily approached Lady Helena, whose eyes were wide with fear. After some coaxing, Helena confessed that she had been receiving anonymous letters from a suitor claiming to know her deepest secrets. She feared this man was the one lying dead, but she had no idea of his identity. As the constable arrived and began his investigation, Emily pieced together the clues. She recalled seeing a servant slip a note into Lord Worthington's hand shortly before the body was discovered. Confronting the Lord in private, she learned that the note contained a threat, a demand for money in exchange for silence about an affair with a prominent politician's wife. The stranger, it seemed, had been a blackmailer. Convinced that the victim had come to the ball to extort money, Emily wondered who among the guests had been desperate enough to kill him. Her suspicions turned to Lord Worthington himself, who had the most to lose from exposure. In a bold move, Emily confronted Lord Worthington in the presence of the constable and Lady Worthington. Under pressure, he confessed to the murder, revealing that he had arranged to meet the blackmailer in the parlor, intending to pay him off. But when the man demanded more, a struggle ensued, resulting in his death. The scandal shook the aristocracy, and Lord Worthington was swiftly arrested. The masked ball, once the pinnacle of the social calendar, became the talk of the town for all the wrong reasons. Lady Emily Fairchild's bravery and keen intellect were lauded, and she returned to her quiet life with a newfound respect from her peers. Though the night had ended in tragedy, she was comforted by the knowledge that justice had been served, and the mysteries of the masquerade had been unraveled.